Jonathan Manoa and Jordan Bishop. Our presentation is on layering. Next slide, please. What is layering? Layering is the process of building systems that can and will interact with each other in order to create a larger system. Multilayering is usually defined into these 4 layers. The presentation tier focuses on the user interface and user workflows. Business tier concentrates solely on the business logic. The data tier is concerned with data flow and integrity. Service tiers is dedicated to testing the communication between external systems using web services. Layers can be applied to both object-oriented programming and to a system, and while a 4-layer application is previously described, layering can consist of any number of layers. We'll be presenting specifically on multi-layer system architectures. Multi-layering architectures can also be referred to as N-tier architectures. Next slide, please. To demonstrate the concept of layering, we'll use our HATA project that we've been working on. HATA will use layering by having 4 layers. A presentation layer that will consist of the various screens and inputs the user will come across in the app. A business layer that will transport data to where it needs to go within the system. A data layer that will maintain the data that is on the mobile device itself, and a communications layer that will send requests and retrieve data from iLearn. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jonathan. So we've talked about so far what is layering, and specifically what is N-tier layering and design architecture. One thing to focus on is that it can be done in many tiers or many layers. And the example that Jonathan has shown here is that in setting up our HATA app, that would be very beneficial for students. We see that it would exercise the design capabilities of N-tier layering. And there would be lots of benefits to this for both students and anybody to use the HATA app or any other app or program using N-tier layering. And so in my slides, I'll be going over some of the upsides, the pros, and some of the downsides or the cons, and then going over some recommendations besides HATA similar apps of where that you could be using N-tier layering. So in doing research, we found an article called 3-Tier Architecture by Cam Balyal, and he describes how some of the upsides to N-tier layering are that it's a simple structure. Having several levels, like 3 levels, makes it simple and easy to understand, yet it's powerful. So like we mentioned, it can be many layers. It's typically understood as 3 layers. And so 3 layers versus a 2-tier or 2-layer system. So being a simple structure, it's also easy to set up and maintain. And this is all because of the way it's structured, so that a developer or maintenance team has a better understanding, has a familiarity with how to use N-tier layering systems, and that can reduce a lot of stress. So backup capabilities is also a benefit to N-tier layering. It gives it the advantage so that if a server goes down or one of the layers goes down, that typically there is another server to go to for requests, so users or clients or students can still receive the information and make the requests that they need to, and not receive errors saying your request cannot be granted or server down, things like that. So there's a lot of scalability within N-tier layering, so you can go as small as a 3-layer system within a small company, or have many layers inside of a large company. Another benefit is forced separation of user interface and business logic. This provides a defined line of between the two, so that if problems arise, they can be fixed quickly by identifying where it's located. It also has redundant application and data servers, replication and synchronization, and load balancing. Another upside to n-tier layering is that it protects the clients from changes in the database. So when changes are happening, it's not affecting the integrity of someone's data or changes that they're making because it's in a layered process. It also enables that client applications be coded in any language, which is very flexible and helpful to a broader range of clients or students or whoever would be using the n-tier layering. Next slide, please. So you can see that the upside far outweighs the downside, being that there's just a couple here that can be named. While it is a shorter list, these can complicate issues in n-tier layering. One of them is that since it can be many layers, it can sometimes result in complicated and difficult debugging processes in order to find the issues and resolve them. Typically, performance is accelerated, yet depending on how things are set up and how many layers there are, performance could actually be affected, and it could add an extra level of abstraction for users and developers, which can add to the confusion. And along with that, kind of another example is that it can be less reliable. So as we see that it's definitely a good option to go with, but can sometimes be a problem. And then some recommendations are that you'd want to use n-tier layering when you by chance have extra security you want to add, because if you have a physically separate middle tier application or server, that can help with any time that you're getting attacked or hacked. It makes it harder for them to do that. And so this means that there's no direct route from the web server to the database server. And like we had mentioned with performance and scalability, if you need to take this example and scale it up for a larger corporation, that's when it's definitely recommended to be done, even though it could be used in smaller applications. And then the reuse and maintenance is another benefit, so that lots of companies could be going through one database layer or one tier, so that changes could be made that would affect them, and the reuse level would go up. So typically, these are instances, there's many more where n-tier layering can be used, and here are some of the references that we've provided for our research. We really enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions, let us know. But that is the end of our presentation. For Jordan Bishop and Jonathan Manoa, thank you for your time and for watching the presentation. Have a great day.